Support for TC Jufolk comes from The Ordway, presenting Fiddler on the Roof. This beloved theatrical masterpiece introduces a new generation to the powerful, heartwarming story of fathers and daughters and husbands and wives. Running from November 30th through December 12th in downtown St. Paul, tickets are available at ordway.org, and when you use our exclusive discount code TCJ at checkout between now and November 30th, you'll get 15% off your order, up to 4 tickets per account. That discount is available on tickets the first week of the run, November 30th through December 3rd and December 5th in the evening. And TC Jufolk is supported by Englander Dental and Dr. Manuel Englander. Located at 3801 West 50th Street in Edina, Dr. Englander and his caring professional dental team provide full-service dental care and transform smiles. Englander Dental specializes in everything from routine cleanings and teeth whitening to root canals, implants, and tooth replacement. For more information, go to englanderdental.com. Welcome to this week's Who the Folk podcast. I'm Lonnie Goldsmith, the editor of TC Jufolk. This week I talk with Julia Miller, the founder and owner of Julia Elise, an all-natural body care product company based in South Minneapolis. We talk about what led her to start this business, using her platform to give back, and what the favorite product is that she makes on this week's Who the Folk podcast. Julia Miller, welcome to the Who the Folk podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you. You're the founder, owner, CEO, all of the above, I guess.
Yeah, I usually say owner and maker behind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you are Julia Elise.
Yes,
that is your brand. Those are your products you make in your home in Minneapolis. Body care products.
That's right.
Yeah. Am I oversimplifying it too much, or is that about the?
No, and that's kind of sort of part of my brand or philosophy or whatever, is that it is very simple.
Okay.
You know, that I try to be kind of minimal. I only use ingredients that I need to, and I don't, put more in there than needs to be there in whatever, in any way, either in the ingredients or the packaging or the description or anything. So I try to be kind of simple, so it's very accessible. Simple,
minimalist is how you do it. So I guess let's back up to the beginning. When and how did Julia Elise start?
Yeah. So in about 2012, I actually took a class at the Wedge Community Co-op about making winter skin remedies. And I got super into it, and it was really fun and interesting. And I loved figuring out how the ingredients work together and learning about the different herbs that you can use in products, and what their sort of healing and medicinal benefits would be. And I've always kind of been a maker of different things. I, have always been kind of crafty and have sold other things that I've made. And so something about these types of products just kind of really resonated with me. And I started making them for friends as gifts and kind of just as a hobby. And then I started selling some of them online. And then it was sort of a hobby side business. And then after my second child was born in 2015, I decided to leave my previous full-time job, which was fundraising at a social service agency, and kind of be part-time, primary parent, and then sort of also make my hobby business into really more of a business.
So this was by no means a, quarantine project, which so many people are doing. And I think those who are great, because there is some really interesting products being put out into the world that
for sure
that people are making now where they wouldn't have otherwise had time for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Or they're certainly more tied to their home. But so this is something that you've been really working to perfect for almost a decade now.
Yeah, I know, which is sort of crazy. When I said 2012, I was like, wow, that is almost 10 years now. But yeah, exactly. And really focusing on it. My daughter is turning 6 next month. So really focusing on it for about 6 years now, like as a primary job and career, I guess. Yeah.
It feels like it's an area that's very crowded in terms of, all natural, minimalist type of products. How do you sort of create your niche in a space that really is, I don't know if it's oversaturated because I don't know the space. I'll let you decide if it is, but how do you make it all work for you and stay, relevant and competitive and, out in front of this area?
Yeah, that's a great question. And at times it definitely can feel crowded because, like I did, learning how to make these products and just starting to do it. And it's something you could do at home. So it's like something a lot of people might start to make their own products and sell them. And so I think that for me, sometimes I get this sort of urge that's like, as you were saying, to stay relevant and top of mind. I'm like, oh, I need to keep making new products or coming up with new things. And I do periodically develop new products, of course, but also just continuing to, put myself out there and talk about what my goal is in making these products, which is really to help people in a very accessible way, connect with their bodies and by using these products. And, I really believe that self-care is a conduit to community care. And so my philosophy, as I said, I came from a social service background. I've always kind of been an activist and worked in nonprofits. And so even moving to this as a career, I'm always like, but what good am I doing in the world by making body care products? And so a lot of my mission with this is to help people feel good, help people show up as their best selves in the world so that they can then show up for others in the world. So I guess just talking about my products, it's not just an oil that you put on your skin, or it's not just salve that you put on your hands. It's, how does that make you feel? And how does that help you be the person you want to be in the world?
So I got to imagine when you went to that class at the Wedge, you were looking for something to sort of take care of yourself to get through the winter.
Yeah, I was like, this seems interesting in the, catalog of one night classes that they have in the upstairs classroom at the Wedge. Yeah, this was not what I was envisioning when I signed up for that class.
And so at what point over that, next, I guess, 3 years or so, did it sort of click for you that, oh, maybe there really is a bigger, broader market for this, that and I'm good enough at it to be able to give up the full-time job to really devote time to this?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely evolved, just organically over time. And it was something I enjoyed doing. I sold stuff, people wanted to buy it. People used it up and came back to buy more. So it just evolved. And as I said, it really was just a hobby for a while. And I'm not going to pretend, just for full transparency, that this has replaced my full-time job.
Fair.
But, I think that, when people hear like, oh, you quit your day job, wow, you must be making as much as you did before. Like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that that's true. Although I did work at a small social service agency. So it's not like I had a very large income. But for our family, that worked well. And, with having 2 small children at the time in daycare or, in childcare, like, at that point, just there were some other factors personally and professionally as well. Like, that was just the right move. And personally, being a full-time stay-at-home parent is not for me. So I was like, okay, I can leave my job. I can stay home and help take care of our kids, but I also need something for me to focus on that's not being a parent, to kind of, remember who you are as a human being aside from parenting.
And I think that's an important lesson, though, for parents, because I know I have 2 kids. They're both, one's a teen, one is almost a teen, and it gets hard when they're little. It sort of becomes your entire identity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was never really someone who aspired to be a stay-at-home parent. And, some people, that's really what they want to do and who they are. And that is fulfilling and that's great. But that's not me. Yeah. So, and I knew that at the time. So it was as stressful as it was to be like, oh, I'm trying to work or I'm trying to get these other things done when, having, a newborn and a 2.5-year-old at the time, like, it also helped me emotionally and mentally to have something else to really focus on. And then as my kids have gotten older and I've had, they're both in full-time school this year, knock on wood, they're in school in person, but that's, I've, progressively had more time to dedicate and stuff. And it's become easier to really focus more time and, that balance shifts over time.
So now that you have more time, how do you, I guess, sort of put more of that into the business in terms of whether it's, research and development or marketing or the actual, physical making of the products? How do you sort of divvy up your day? What does that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, it definitely ebbs and flows, with products. Obviously, this time of year is busier because people, during November and December, people are buying more stuff as gifts and things like that. So this is a busier time for me in terms of making products because I'm selling more products. So, and then there are slower times when maybe sales are a little bit lower and I can focus more on sort of behind the scenes business stuff. So that might be working on a new product. It might be, accounting. It might be, working on some marketing strategies or materials or photographs or things like that, because really the business is just me. At this point, I do everything. I've had help with some photography stuff and some, a little bit, but mostly it's really just like I make the products, I sell the products, I package the products, I go to the markets, I do the emails, I do the account, like it's just me. Right. So, you just kind of ebbs and flows of how I structure my day.
So you're selling mostly at markets then? Or I guess during the warmer months of the year, I'd imagine that would be.
Yeah, actually. So I sell online through my website. And then I also have products in a handful of stores. And then I also do a lot of in-person, pop-up markets, which, last year didn't happen because of COVID. So that was a big shift. And this year is kind of coming back a little bit. But it's very kind of like, we don't know what's going to happen, or, does it feel safe? Does it not? And
I read that's the other piece of it too. I mean, as great as it would be to be able to go to those, it's really down to your comfort level and the people who are attending's comfort level to decide what they want to do.
Exactly. So I do have sort of a handful of events scheduled for the next 2 months, but they're not like the bigger events that I would have done before. So we'll see how they go. I've done 2 markets so far this year. Those were my first ones since before COVID, and they were good. It was definitely kind of awkward getting back into it, but it felt good. And it's always, I love connecting with, customers and potential customers and just talking to people about my products, explaining my process, explaining what the products are and how you use them and what my goal is. And people, they get to smell things and try them out. And, that's so important with this type of product, where sometimes the scent and the feel, that's such an important factor with these products. And that's really hard to convey on the internet.
Right. I mean, the web sales are perfect for like the repeat customer, or, the people who need to re-up a product, right? Yep. If they're out of their lip balm or whatnot, then perfect. I'll go online, I'll order it, I'll get it.
Right.
All good. Okay. So you segued very nicely there. What is your process? What makes the product stand out?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I do try to be really minimal. So I don't, put like extra fillers or preservatives in my process or in my products, excuse me. So, I really just use whatever I think is essential to achieve the goal of what that product is. So for example, I have a healing body salve that is probably my most minimal product, and I use it all the time. And it's one of my better sellers. It's an olive oil that is infused with 2 herbs, comfrey and calendula, and beeswax. And that's it. And so the herbs that I use, those 2 herbs specifically, are really healing for your skin. They promote skin cell regeneration. I have used this product for anything from diaper rash to dry skin to a burn to, healing a scar or, after a minor wound, like just everything.
Wow. That's
so
really
that
cool.
is like my go-to for everything. It's like in my first aid kit. It's next to my sink. It was on my changing table when my kids had diaper. Like it was just everywhere. I have like them. They're all over my house. So that's, I'm kind of self-taught. I've taken some classes about herbalism. So I, have learned a lot about plants and their different properties and what's healing and what's good for, what might be good for facial skin versus a foot cream, or what's good for your hair, or, those, different types of herbs that are, healing or promote strengthening of different parts of your body. And everything I make is topical. So I don't make anything that you would, take as a supplement or anything like that. So It's all mostly skin, hair, that kind of thing.
And, one of the interesting things, in looking at your website is that you get your herbs from a local farm.
Yeah, a lot of them. I haven't been able to shift completely to getting everything, but that's been a very exciting development in the last couple of years, is partnering with, it's called Pluck Flower Farm, and it's a woman-owned small farm in Malacca, Minnesota. And she primarily grows flowers, but also grows herbs for myself and actually some other small companies. So I reached out to her, and we've been kind of really partnering on like, what herbs do I want? What can she grow? And that's been a learning process for both of us, really. Sure. With like, she's tried some new herbs to grow that she hadn't really worked with before. And I'm also learning like, hey, it was really dry this summer. So like some of the things she planted, she didn't get a lot of, or she didn't, so, yep. It's been really great though, to be working together, and for me, for us to kind of support each other as small business owners as well.
Yeah. As somebody who tried to grow a garden in the yard this summer, the tomatoes did not do as well. And I think that was because of the weather. And I guess that's, it's part of the learning process when you are reliant on, what's growing for so much of what you do. For sure. But I think it's also really nice to be able to be like using plants that are grown in the same region. Obviously, people who use my products, especially folks who order online, they could be anywhere in the country or, around the world. So, but definitely the majority of my customers are, in Minnesota, because that's where most people hear about me. And so I think it's really wonderful to be able to use a product that's made with ingredients that are grown here. And also the beeswax that I use is from a beekeeper down by Faribault. So that's also pretty close by. That's cool. Yeah. So that's, I just really, I definitely am a proponent of, or a supporter of, local food, supporting your local community. And also just sort of physically to, be able to live in an environment and then use something on your body that is also from that same, bioregion. One of the other things that I saw on your website that I thought was really interesting is the Tzedakah Program. Yeah. That you started. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is and why it's important to you, and when that really ramped up? Yeah, absolutely. So,
That is something where, personal, I said earlier, I used to work at a nonprofit, and that's kind of giving back, and both financially and of my time and energy has always been, a strong value of mine, growing up and as an adult. And, so I've, personally, my family, we always, give as much, what we can financially and otherwise every year, but shifting that to being a tangible aspect of my business was something really important to me. And when I was able to kind of make that shift to like actually dedicating 5% of sales to what I'm calling a Tzedakah fund. So I don't have one specific organization that I always support. It's really varied. Sometimes in the past couple of years, I've given to a lot of mutual aid efforts. I live in South Minneapolis, so I'm very close to where George Floyd was murdered. I live actually right across the street from Powderhorn Park, where there was a really large encampment of unhoused folks in the summer of 2020. And so some of the money has gone to that. Some of the money has gone to efforts to protect our, local environment, natural environment. Sometimes it's been to help support another small business owner who has maybe had a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter to support their business. So I don't have a specific type of cause or organization that I always give to, but it's really to uplift other either small organizations or individuals or businesses that, need support. And I just feel that I've been really lucky to be able to do that. And it feels good to have, every month when I'm kind of going through my revenue and, dividing things where they need to go, to always say like, okay, this 5% is going to my Tzedakah fund. And, Tzedakah means charity and justice. And so, to me, that's, been a great and really rewarding feeling to be able to have that be part of my business as well as just my personal life.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice that you using your platform and what you've created to also give back.
Yeah.
So what is this question probably two different questions, but what is your favorite product that you make? And is that product your most popular one?
Okay. I had a feeling you were going to ask my favorite product, because most people ask me that, and it's really hard to choose. No,
I know it's like picking your favorite kid, right?
Exactly. I talked about the healing salve. That is one of my favorite products. But since I already talked about that, the other one probably would be, I'll say the Peaceful Body Oil. I use that product a lot, and that is one of my best sellers. So that is also a very simple product in terms of the ingredients. It is a blend of olive oil and jojoba oil that's infused with calendula. Again, that's an herb that I do use a lot. And then I have a essential oil scent blend that I've created just for that product. So it has lavender, chamomile, grapefruit, geranium, and lang lang. And the scent is just really lovely and calming. And that's another one where when people are able to try my products in person, either at a market or at a store, they can smell it. And that really makes a difference. And it's just really calming. I use it, kind of all over as a moisturizer, sort of instead of lotion, like especially after a shower. Or also sometimes I'll just put a little like on my neck and shoulders and just kind of take a moment of my day and just kind of close my eyes and take a couple deep breaths and inhale that scent. And it is really calming, and it can be really restoring. And it just, when you're able to take that moment, and that's really one thing that I hope my products provide for people, is giving them that, anyone can just take a break and take a deep breath and calm themselves down if they're having a rough day or struggling with their kids or their job or whatever's going on in their life. But so you don't need to buy my products to do this. You can do it on your own. But sometimes it helps to have some physical thing to give you an excuse almost to take that break and, take a moment to restore yourself so that you can go about the rest of your day with intention and purpose.
So on the flip side to that, what product, I don't want to call it a fail, like my 12-year-old would call it a fail. But was there a product that you're like in your head, you're like, oh, this is a great, like this, and then it just fell flat, whether not necessarily from a sales standpoint, just from the execution, like it just never quite got off the ground where you thought it could go?
I would say one product, and I wouldn't go so far to say that it fell flat, but just I think I haven't quite achieved a way to get people to realize what it is and why it's so great, is this one product called Face and Body Tea. Okay. And what that is a tea for your skin. So you can use it as a bath soak, or you can use it as a facial steam, or you can also use it, like some people have used it as a foot soak as well. So it comes in a jar. It's a blend of dried herbs, and it comes with a little muslin pouch, like a giant tea bag. And so you can put the herbs in the tea bag and put it in your bath. So it makes your bath water like tea that you're soaking in. That's really restorative and healing for your skin. And it smells nice without being overpowering because it's just the herbs. There's nothing else added. There's no essential oils or other scents added. But I think something hasn't quite clicked yet, but it's really a lovely product. And, folks buy it and I do sell it, but it hasn't taken off in the way that I thought maybe it would.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So we know Hanukkah's coming up like in a week, which is crazy. I know there's, things are still up in the air market wise. Where can people go to find out more, not just about your products, but about where they can check out your products? Because like you said, it's the smelling and seeing is so much more gratifying than clicking.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my website is juliaelise.com, and you can go to the events page there, which will list, what markets I will be at. It also, there's a page of what stores my products are in. So if any stores are local to folks, they can check those out. And then also, of course, you can always order online. But if you want to try them or check them out in person, I would check out the events or the page that lists the retail stores.
Awesome. Well, Julia, last two questions, and we'll let you get back to concocting your goodies. What is your favorite Jewish holiday?
Oh, Passover for sure. The food, my grandmother always used to, go all out with Passover baking and food. So that always certainly brings, good memories, but also just a story of liberation and, reminding us that, our liberation is bound in the liberation of others. And that's just always a good reminder that, as free as we may feel now, we cannot be free if others are oppressed. And that's definitely a message that I, bring into my family and raising my children as well. So.
And what is your favorite Jewish food?
Oh, it's so hard to choose. But since we're on Passover, I think I will go with Haroset. I feel like it's an underappreciated. Couldn't agree more. I really go to the less mushy Haroset. So I just like chop apples into small chunks. I don't do the food processor, turn it into mortar method. And that was always my job as a kid to make the Haroset. And I've really stuck with that as one of my favorite Jewish foods altogether. Yeah.
It's super simple, apples. Now, are you a walnut person? Is that the nut of choice for your?
I do walnuts. I don't do any dried fruit. My mother hates raisins. So growing up, it was just like apples, walnuts, cinnamon, and, manischewitz.
Absolutely. It's, Passover food in its purest form right there, I think, is just
Absolutely.
those 4 ingredients, no add-ins, no filler. That's it.
Yeah.
And I agree with the hand chopping of the apples. Like it feels there's something like satisfying about not feeding the apples through the food processor.
Totally.
Because I want the apples to have some consistency, because then they soak up all the wine and the cinnamon. And
yeah. I think that maybe people don't like it who have the sort of more mushy Haroset, because they don't know that there's a better way.
No, there is a better way, and they should experience it. I completely agree. Julia Miller, the shop is Julia Elise. Your products look amazing. They're available online and in several stores around the area. Check it out, and hopefully in some markets this holiday season. I thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we will have all the links to everything in the show notes so people can go find it, all the stuff you mentioned. But thanks for coming on and hanging out for a bit. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was great to chat.
The Who the Folk podcast is part of the Jew Folk Podcast Network, a product of Jew Folk Inc. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you have suggestions for other podcast guests, please email them to me at editor@tcjewfolk.com. For our other shows, check out tcjewfolk.com/podcast.